Hi, everybody, and welcome to Lawyers Rock, and Happy New Year. Today, I thought I'd do a post that's going to touch on a lot of different people because I get these questions at the beginning of every year. People who want to go out and start what they call their brand. That can mean a lot of different things. That can be an entertainer, that could be a high-level business executive who wants to start a business consulting service, a life coach. There are endless examples, but really they all have the same things that they need to do legally to give them a chance to be successful. So I'm going to go over 5 things and give you a list of what you need to cover while you're building your brand to be successful. So let's rock. So let's jump right in. Let's go over the first one. The first one is you need to consider whether you need to form an entity. I could easily talk on this subject for an hour, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to break it down really quick and simple. What I'm listing on the left side are a couple of choices where you do have personal liability, which means if someone has a problem with your business and they bring a lawsuit and they win, they'll be able to get to your personal assets. The choices on your right, if you form an entity, then if someone sues you and wins, they won't be able to get to your personal assets. They can only get to the business assets. So on the left side, they could take your house, take your car. On the right side, you're protected except for the assets that are in the business. Next is the one that's true to my heart, of course, and very important. You need to protect your intellectual property. So you want to be a recognizable brand. You want to have a creative logo, very unique. You want to have a unique name. Maybe you want to create a curriculum that you go teach. You want to be known by that methodology. Maybe you want a reality show, or you want to sell merchandising. All these things fall under the categories known as intellectual property or intangible assets. Intellectual property is usually either copyright or trademark, which is actually the basis of a brand. And there are a lot of different ways that trademark law works. With trademarks, there's a lot to consider, but some of the main things to think about are whether you want just a word trademark, or if you want to combine it with a logo, or if you just want a logo by itself. Those are different applications. What good or service is actually connected to your trademark? So you don't just get to trademark a logo or a word. It has to be connected to some kind of good, like music or a website or the services you're providing. Those are all specific trademark applications. And the last and maybe most important is whether you're using the mark now or if you're intending to use it, because there's what's called an intent to use trademark application that reserves the name for you. And that can be very powerful as you build your brand. Next, you need to consider all your intangible assets. Now, what does that mean? Those are things like your social media, your contacts, and those other things that you're not sure exactly how to categorize, but you know they're valuable. For example, with social media handles, it's very valuable to have the same social media handle as your trademark. As far as brand goes, it's very consistent, and that increases the value. Those are the things that you need to consider. You need to have solid contracts. When you're engaging people or you're being engaged, you need to have a solid form that you can give them. I know, it just sounds like a typical standard stuffy lawyer, but I'm telling you, when I see a crappy agreement that doesn't protect a person's rights, it's not clear on the terms, and it just totally exposes them to liability, there's a problem. I mean, that's worse than not having an agreement in place at all. And sometimes I see this in litigation, and the client's surprised when they lose off the agreement that they drafted or they got off the internet. So, I mean, make sure you have good forms and use them. And lastly, you need legal counsel in some capacity. Whether it's a consultation or limited representation, you really need somebody to look at what you're doing and make sure it's done right. I get so many people that come to me after the fact where they've set things up themselves and they've gone off to these services and had them set them up. And then they come to me and it's done totally wrong. And I have to undo what was wrong and I have to do what's right. And it takes double the time, that's double the bill. I like people to think about lawyers as being fine tuners. You can always go out on the internet and find some form contract, but it's probably not going to fit your situation perfectly. That's what the lawyer does. He fine tunes the language so that you're properly protected and you have the safeguards and you can increase the value of your contract. There you go. I hope this post was helpful. Leave me a comment. Let me know.